Hey, Nation, Harry here. This is a special treat. Scott Brinker of Chief Martech out of the Boston area. How you doing, Scott?
I'm good, Harry. Great to be here with you.
Well, great. Yeah, I for many years have loved these types of charts. And our mutual friend Jay McBade at Forrester introduced us. And let me just hand it over to you. What's your life story? How did you get to 8,000 logos on a ecosystem chart?
Where did I go wrong in my life that led me to like place 8,000 logos on a slide? Yes, that's a great question. Well, I think the short version is I sort of grew up as a software engineer, but very entrepreneurial. Eventually ended up doing entrepreneurial software engineering things with marketers as my clients, and then got very excited about what marketing was doing. And just slowly over time, found myself at that Venn diagram overlap between the worlds of technology and software and IT and marketing and sort of the revenue operation side of businesses. And so maybe about 15 years ago or so, started getting really serious about that. But it was a very niche audience, and then just through the nature of where things have been going with the world becoming fully digital, is marketers suddenly got really excited about technology, and technology
Yeah.
people got increasingly interested in like, hey, wow, like this whole marketing engagement thing, there might be something here. And so one way or
Including
another, I've
budget,
been kind of at that intersection.
including the marketing budget.
This is truth. Yes.
So, yeah, a couple questions. I shared with you in a discovery call many years ago at SMB Nation. We're an integrated media and events company at our core. When we thought about providing marketing as a services to our readers, the managed services providers, because these MSPs, aka computer guys, they don't like to market, right? That's not a natural act. So we're going to do your tweets, we're going to do your newsletter, we're going to do your post. And I looked at a similar chart, the Lumascape for social media marketing, and here's how I used it. And I'm going to get to a question. Was when I had that pitch deck to MSPs that we have this monthly marketing service where we just do it for you. Look at this ecosystem chart and how complex it is. And we kind of know what logos we like to work with. So let's just say MailChimp, Hootsuite, there's some tools we use to automate the marketing. And I said, or, you can do it on your own. Right. I mean, I'm a number of years into this world, and you're welcome to take this chart and go test all the products. Now the question, how do people use your chart?
Well, actually, for many years, a number of them used it the exact same way you were using the Lumascape, which was to sow fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And like, you don't want to have to deal with this, right? I think, this chart, I mean, obviously you can see like by the time you get to thousands of logos, at microscopic size, there is no direct utility value to this. It's really been a conversation starter. It's people, to be honest, haven't even like fully recognized just how diverse and massive, the technology ecosystem around the marketing profession and the marketing industry has become. And usually when people see this for the first time, it's like, their mind blows. And that's actually kind of a good thing, because the reality is marketing has changed dramatically. Like the technologies around this, there's so much happening. And I think first step is to recognize it's a really big world out there, and to start to think about like, okay, given that, how do I develop some of the capability, either within my own company or with the partners we're working with, to make sure that, we are taking advantage of what's happening here, for what's relevant for our business.
Yeah, the one I shared with you, and I'm a mere student, trust me, on these ecosystem charts, but in the emerging cannabis technology or Cannatech field. And I published it in Marijuana Venture magazine. And the feedback I'm getting was a couple fold. One was just sort of the wow effect that you alluded to. Wow, I didn't know this industry was so big. Number two was the ISVs and disties and OEMs that were in the different buckets. They were curious. Now they can start to size up who they perceive they compete with, right? This as an analyst, I made 15 buckets and I put logos in the buckets. And it just brought insight to them to start thinking anew, especially overseas ISVs from Japan and Germany in particular that are entering this market. And that's not a natural act for a Japanese company, let me tell you. So there was a little bit of that. And then the third one is investors trying to size up the landscape. Has your chart fallen into that investor category before, where there maybe a PE firm is coming in and they're just trying to size it up?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I would say about 5 years ago, like right when we were crossing into the 1,000 to 2,000, companies represented on this map. In some ways, that was almost the peak interest, of VCs and PE folks. I would say at this point in time, most of them have kind of like, yeah, I mean, again, the scale of this map is such that, generally speaking, they're looking for a more finer grained analysis, of particular categories. But yeah, there's a lot of value to just providing some sort of taxonomy to the market to just say, okay, here's a way to think about it in these buckets, and that the categories are never perfect, and we can always argue about boundaries.
I know.
But at least to have some sort of model that we can have a common language and we can start to see some of the structure, in an emerging industry. I think there's a lot of value to that.
Yeah. No, you can always count on feedback when you publish one of these things, let me tell you.
Well said.
Especially the logos that we missed.
Yes, I'm familiar with this dynamic as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, final question. Let's stay in touch. This is cool. It'd be fun when you maybe are doing an update or have a more specific circle or bucket. We could double click at a future date into that. But the final update is something I'm going through with my chart here. We're at the end of 2021. And there's been a reasonable amount of consolidation in the Canatech space. And that's not a surprise. Mm-hmm. So now there's the mechanics, and myself and Jenny, we got to figure out, okay, now, do we take that logo out and we use the new parent logo like Akerna, or, do you get into some of that with consolidation and bankruptcy and new entries?
Yeah, absolutely. And we track that pretty closely. So yeah, if one company acquires another, we'll just go to whatever the logo is of the acquired entity, with some exceptions. Like some cases, like if a PE company acquires a firm, but they're still basically, for all practical purposes, that firm is just still doing business as its own brand, then it's like, all right, we just leave that in there because, that's sort of how the rest of the market thinks of it. But if it is a true consolidation of multiple companies being combined into one brand, then yeah, we try and keep that updated.
Yeah. And I just, I'll close on this. The top of mind one was Tech Data merged with Synnex over in my world of infrastructure and IT, fairly large merger. And their logo is a dual logo, TD Synnex. So they're keeping the dual branding. So that's just kind of interesting.
Yes, it almost by accident you end up with a PhD study in logo naming, company naming. How do people do branding? Like in a market of thousands of vendors, how do you make your logo and name? And it's an art form unto itself. Apparently, I've come to appreciate.
Yeah. Well, sir, thank you for your time, folks. You can go see the work that Scott's doing over at chiefmartech.com. I thank you, and happy holidays, since we're approaching the holidays, and we'll talk to you next year.
All right, sounds great. Happy holidays. Best wishes for 2022.
There we go.